In Japanese, the word for farmer is Hyakko. Hyakko comes from two words. One word is for man and the other word is 100. And the literal definition for a farmer, a man of 100 talents. Hi, my name's Eiji Kawamura, and I'm a third-generation farmer here in Orange County, California. I've been fortunate to have a little over 40 seasons under my belt of farming here in an urban area. A lot of people say we're urban farmers, but actually we're farmers in an urban area. Our family history goes back to the turn of the century when all my grandparents immigrated from Japan. My one set of grandparents is from the Fukushima area and the other is from the Wakayama area. They both have different routes of how we got into agriculture. My one grandfather, he was not only a farmer, he was a sharecropper, and he eventually learned how to go into the landscape business, and they moved from the countryside into the Los Angeles area. My grandfather on my dad's side came to America, has a funny story where early on he was more of an entrepreneur and he realized that he could take hay from the Santa Ana area, Orange County, up into Los Angeles for the horse and buggy trade. So he would transport hay as feed for the horses, and we always used to laugh that he was in the energy transportation business because in those days everything was horsepower. And it's amazing, in a single man's life we've gone from that to where we are now, anticipating robotic tractors and the rest. When World War II broke out, both families, being of Japanese descent, had to go into camp. My father was a UCLA graduate at the time, had just got out of college. When the war ended, they couldn't go back to the West Coast just yet. They were in Gila, Arizona, and my grandfather, always the entrepreneur, saw an opportunity where they could potentially buy some farm products, some lettuce and other vegetables, and he knew the LA market really well, and he figured out if he could buy those fields or buy the product off the fields and send it back to Los Angeles, that might be a good business to get into. And so as he was preparing to do that, they were about ready to harvest a field there in Arizona, in Gila, Arizona, actually in Glendale, Arizona. And they had got a visit by some of the local officials who came by and said, I'm sorry, but we aren't going to let you harvest that crop because you're not an American citizen. It was still in that tough time right after World War II. There was a lot of prejudice, there was a lot of challenges. Of course, what did he do? He called my father up. With my grandfather and another friend, they started our company, our first company called Western Marketing Company in 1946. And that company became the backbone of the company we are now, which is called Orange County Produce. But we were fortunate that even though we were a company, Japanese-owned company, Japanese-American-owned company, that several chain stores were willing to work with us. And of course, one of them was the old A&P store, another was Kroger, who's still around today, and the other was the Safeway chains at the time. My brother Matt and I have been in the business since graduating out of college, and we picked up where he left off basically and continued to do production of multi kinds of vegetables and strawberries, and selling most of them eventually, especially now, to the chain stores. It's a pretty remarkable group of immigrant families, if you will, that has just helped establish for many of us. If you say you're riding on the shoulders of your ancestors, it's clearly that. I have so much to be grateful for the hard work ethic, the ability to keep on focusing on family, and more importantly focusing on a future that's bright and exciting. And I don't think anything's changed for anybody that comes to this country and realizes that there's so much promise here still. My nephew is now the fourth generation doing all the sales for one of our companies, and so I think our biggest challenge is whether or not this country, especially after the pandemic and after there was a realization because of the empty shelves, that agriculture is really important for this country, really important for the world, and successful agriculture especially helps us get way down the path. We're actually thinking very hard, if not planning for, a chance to continue to do a project where we're custom growing food for the food banks. And we found some great partners to create an alignment, usual collaboration, where we can pull our resources together and get some of the greatest food products to those most in need. And so nutrient deficiency, nutrient scarcity, nutrient insecurity, instead of just calling it hunger, is a really important new piece of the puzzle that might let us stay in business for a lot longer. And so if we can continue to create abundance, that means everybody has more choices. That's a good place. If we find ourselves in a world of scarcity, I don't have to say this to anybody, but that's the kind of world we don't ever want to see.